Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I'm your host. I'm so happy to be here. If you are listening live, it is 11 a.m. Pacific on the 25th of May. If you're listening to an archive or a replay, I also want to welcome you to the show. I want to let you know that we are over in the chat room, and you can find us by heading over to 12radio.com. That's number 2radio.com. Click on the chat button and you'll be redirected into the Facebook chat. If you are wanting to watch this rather than listen, you can head over to either Domestic Mystic Katie Weaver on Facebook or on YouTube. And I'm live streaming this event from both places. So lots of options, lots of choices. You do you. No matter what, though, I appreciate you being here and I'm excited for us to have a fun show. I am keeping an eye on the comment threads from the live stream as well as the chat room. So wherever you drop a comment, that will be where I'll see it. So I promise I am paying attention. All righty. Well, I do want to welcome Renee and Terry and Pamela. Pamela, that's awesome. So she said, happy Tuesday. My friend Anne is so grateful that you solved her critter problem. You made a true believer out of her. And if you weren't here last week, Pamela's friend Anne had a problem with a coconut rat that had come up out of the creek banks, I think, and was wreaking havoc at her house and had her upset. And we let him know that it was time to move on and get out of Anne's house, out of her property and off of her stuff. And he moved on. So I'm glad to hear it, Pamela. My honor. All righty. Well, I hope you guys are having a good start to your week. This is definitely an interesting week, isn't it? We have a full moon eclipse tomorrow. It's a full moon in Sagittarius. And, you know, I'm not the astrologer, I'm the channeler, so it's a little different for me. And I know we've probably heard plenty about it already this morning, so I won't beat a dead horse. But I'm so excited. I love the full moon. Y'all know I am a moon child. I'm a Cancer. And so, you know, the moon is really my jam. And I'm so excited for this full moon eclipse. So you can see the eclipse in the in Northern America. You should be able to see it in the morning at 5:15 a.m. Mountain Time. So that's 3:15 a.m. for Eastern. And it's, what is that, 4:15, 6:15 a.m. for Pacific time. So I am super, super excited. I can't wait. I am going to get up for it. You better bet your booties I am. We don't get this very often, especially that we get to see the whole thing. So not only is it a super moon, it is an eclipse, and damn right I'll be there. I'm so excited. So let me know if you're going to get up. And also, I hope we all share some pictures tomorrow. I know it's really hard to photograph the moon. They never look right. But we can try and at least talk about it. So super, super exciting business. So how do you treat the full moon? I'm always curious to know. Are you somebody who actually responds to it? Are you somebody who likes it? Do you hate the full moon? Do you love it? Are you ambivalent? How does it work for you? Does it affect your animals? My piggies are pretty reactive to the full moon. When the moon is full, they are really clingy. They want a ton of attention. They want to be constantly petted and loved on. You guys just don't know how, while Scott's producing radio, those pigs will not get out of his office. They want to be right up in his space. Our little boar wants petted and scratched and loved on the whole time. And if you're not, then he's whomping you with his nose to get your attention. It's cute and sometimes it's a bit annoying. But he can't help it. He's just a little piglet, you know? So we love him. Hello, Quelly and Jane and Renee and Deb. I do have a cold, Jane. I have been so sick. And I'm actually so much better now. I know I don't sound very good still. I'm just still getting really tired really fast. But oh my gosh, I'm on week 3. Week 3. Yep. However, I did get COVID tested, and they said it wasn't COVID. It's COVID's evil stepsister, I think, something, because it's just I think it's just about as ugly, but yikes. So yeah, we actually have all had it at my house. Poor Scott he's been terribly sick. So anyway, I don't know. But yeah, I know I still sound like it. People keep calling me and saying, "Did I wake you up?" I'm like, no. One of my uncles called. He's in his 70s. He's, an older guy and he's out of bed at, the crack of dawn. He called me at 8:30 the other morning and he said, "Oh no, did I wake you?" And I said, "No, no, you didn't." He goes, "Oh, well, you sound like it." No, just sick. And he said, well, I reached for my phone to call you at 6:30. And then I realized you might still be in bed at 6:30. I said, "Well, yeah, but these pigs demand on being fed breakfast at 7 a.m. sharp. So I'm up by then every day. Because if not, they just come in my bedroom and just start ransacking the place. If I don't get up, they just come in and start like getting into things on my nightstand and drinking the dog's water and flipping their bed around and, just basically causing a havoc and chaos until you get up. They know exactly what to do. Yes. Yep. Anyway, that's what it's like living with piggies. Sounds like allergies, Deb. It does, except for that I don't have any allergies. Because I have some immune system issues. I had to go to an immunologist a few years ago. And he did the blood tests, all the skin prick tests, all the stuff. And he said, "You are not showing an allergic response to anything." And I was like, "Oh, that's good." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. You should be." He said, "Everybody's allergic to some things. Your immune system will fight back on some things. Everyone does." He says, "Yours isn't." He said, "That's not great. But, it's whatever. It's me." But yes, I don't actually have any allergies. But it's true. I could just write it off as that, couldn't I? Yeah. What do they say? I used to fart to cover or cough to cover a fart, and after COVID, you cough to cover a fart. No, I've got it backwards. Before COVID, you cough to cover a fart. Now you fart to cover a cough. You probably don't do either. I get it, but I thought that was hilarious. Interesting. Terry says, with full moons, I do rituals. Eclipses, a whole other deal. With eclipses, I allow them to move past me and add more self-care. Oh, interesting. Well, once upon a time, people were absolutely terrified by eclipses. They hid in their houses. They were scared to death. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes, huh? All righty. Well, we've got all kinds of ground to cover today. So we had Mars's graduation party on Sunday with our family, and we had a big family softball game. So my role on my team, Christy was the coach of my team. My role, I batted, and I had a pinch runner because, no, that's not happening. But my other job was to sit on the bench and talk shit, and I did a wonderful job at it. I want you to know. I can softball trash talk with the best of them. Yeah, so that's what I did, and I went 2 for 3. I actually batted pretty well. I was impressed. I was excited. I thought I was going to go 3 for 3, and then my stupid brother-in-law caught my third ball. It's not his fault. I literally hit it directly to his face, but I don't think he could help but catch it just to save his own life. But hey, I was actually still impressed that I was, willing to get up there and bat, and I did good. So there you go. All righty. Well, let's take a look at Luminous. So as you know, Luminous is the magazine that I publish on Tuesdays. If you are subscribed to it, you probably just received it here just a little bit ago. And let's see, I'm going to open it. I put links in the chat room to it. I did a full moon cover this week. I just couldn't help it. Had to do it. All right. I called the magazine this week the Spellbound edition because, well, I'm spellbound by this full moon eclipse and by this energy, and I'm excited about it. So there you go. We're spellbound. So I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that I was building a place to feed crows because I would like to, really gather them and create a murder of crows. And so I have a crow couple who have taken up residence. They are nesting in one of my poplars, and they are eating everything I put out for them every day. Like, seriously, there is nothing left. There is not a single shell or skin or anything. It's all gone. And they're just awesome. They're just hovering around. Every time you go outside, you see them around somewhere, whether they're out in the pasture in their nest. You can actually see them from a long ways away because it's I don't know why, but you can see them out there. But anyway, or a lot of times they're right up here in the pine trees and the elm trees in my front yard, just hanging out. It is awesome. I did see them have quite the fight with a magpie a couple of days ago, fighting for turf, I guess. But anyway, so I take my little crow call every morning, and I try and go out about the same time. But this morning I was late, and they were not having it. I went out a little later than normal, and they were both like swirling. They were waiting, and they were yelling at me. So I guess if you're going to feed the crows, you better get your shit together and feed them on time. They are not going to have that. Anyway, but I fed them. So I have the same ritual every day. I try to feed them about the same time. And then I blow the crow call. I have a crow call that my daughter bought me for Mother's Day. I blow the crow call 4 times. Then I go in the house. And as soon as I went in the house, they descended, And it's crazy to me. By noon, every bit of that food will be gone. Which made me wonder if I should feed them more. And then I decided I'm not going to feed them more because, first of all, I don't want to create a situation where they're completely dependent on me. But we will, we're going to keep feeding them. We'll see. We're going camping this weekend, and I'm a little bit worried about, I think whenever we come home to feed the pigs and take care of them, we'll have to feed the crows because now I've gotten something started. But you guys, they're nesting. So at some point, crow babies are going to come and show up. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. So this is going to play out all summer long, we know. And then maybe next year, this couple will come back and maybe their crow babies will come back with their families. And the murder has begun. That's what I'm saying. The murder has begun. Yes. That's correct. I'm so excited. So just an update on the crow situation. All righty. I shared in my musings an infographic about self-care. And I love that because Terry in the chat said that around eclipses, she always amps up her self-care. I've talked to a lot of people lately that have kind of slipped, right? Maybe life has gotten a little bit busy. Jane says those crows own you now, Katie. Yep, they do. This is what I do. Now I'm owned by dogs, pigs, and crows, and kids, let's be real. But anyway, on self-care, I've talked to a lot of people lately that have felt kind of apathetic and have kind of slipped on their own self-care routine. And here's the thing with self-care that I don't like. I don't like the pressure, like you have to do all of these things for you or you're screwing up. That's not fair, right? And so I think self-care needs to be a suggestion with a lot of leeway for you to do what is right for you and to recognize that if you're not in a space right now by doing self-care, that's okay too, right? Because that's the thing about self-care and the demand for everyone to give themselves a bunch of it is that if you don't, then you feel like shit because you're not living up to your promise to give yourself self-care. You see what I'm saying? So if you are not feeling it, don't do it and don't beat yourself up for it. However, if you're feeling uncomfortable in your skin, if you're feeling like something needs to change, If you're feeling like maybe you need a little something different, then you're probably ready to take a hard look at self-care. So here are some thoughts on self-care. Throw the negative thoughts out. Now look, everyone has negative thoughts, and it's not a judgment. Have them, but don't let them be there forever, right? Don't let them take up residence. Yes, you're going to have negative thoughts. Yes, you're going to think that the lady at the drive-thru is an asshole. Yes, you're going to think that, have a little road rage here or there, or get down on yourself or whatever. I mean, that's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. The challenge is to look at those kinds of things and go, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that I'm feeling this way, and I'm going to cut it loose because I actually don't like feeling this way. So I'm going to shift my feelings, shift my energy to something that I care about or that I am more passionate about, and not unpack my bags here. That's the challenge. Not to never have a negative thought. Of course you will, and you should. You want to bottle all of that up inside of you? It will come out somehow, maybe not the way you want it to. So feel your feelings. Just be aware of them. Quality time. Quality time is a really important one, and I feel like we tend to put our own quality time last. When you look at your schedule, when you look at what other people need from you, when you look at what the world is asking for, how often do you go, no, I need some time. I need some time to rest. Or how about this? I want to finish my book. Or there's a Netflix special I really wanted to watch. Or, there's a drive into the mountains I really wanted to take. How often do we put the brakes on the world and do the things we want to do or need to do to take care of our own bodies, right? We're bad about this. And it's something that you can always take a look at and decide, is there something better I could be offering myself? And also, am I giving myself permission to say no, to create boundaries, and to give myself some personal time? Yeah, that's the question. Talk love to yourself. Self-affirmations. You guys know how I feel about affirmations. I do. I love them. I think they're really important, and I think they're really helpful. So talking lovingly to yourself, affirming positive things, very helpful. Unlimited pampering. Just do things for you that feel good. It doesn't mean you have to go and spend $40 at the spa every other day. It doesn't mean you have to have a weekly massage if you can't afford that. It doesn't mean that you have to go buy something or spend money to pamper yourself, but it does mean that you should do things that you like, right? Maybe you splurge on your favorite coffee. Maybe you drink out of the mug that's your favorite. Maybe you keep your jammies on till noon. Or maybe you do buy something new when you need it. But pampering yourself is about identifying what you like. And that's another thing that we, I think, kind of fall down on sometimes. We either let other people tell us what we like, or we just get kind of caught up in what other people like or need or want, and we kind of forget that we also get to have likes, needs, and wants, right? The last few mornings I've made pumpkin spice lattes every morning. Yes, it's spring, it's not fall when those drinks are in so much fashion, but I was thinking the other day how much I love those and how much I wanted one, and so I made one and I loved it. I made one the next day, and I made one again today because I love those, and they make me feel warm and comforted and nice. And wow, how weird that I had some idea that I could only drink those in the fall because that's when that drink was in season. What is wrong with us, right? But we've been conditioned to believe a lot of things because marketing is powerful, man. We fall for it. All righty. Daily routine. This one's important. Daily routines. In childhood, early childhood, and in child raising, we talk a lot about creating routines and sticking to them. The kids need routines. Kids need to know what to count on. Kids need to know what to rely on. Kids need to know what's going to happen. You know who else needs that? Adults. Adults need routine too. And we're weird about creating that for ourselves, but you do need routine. You probably have more routine than you know. If you think about the things that you do every night or the things that you do every morning. And I don't know about you guys, but if I don't I have to stick to my routine. I do. Partly because if I don't, I'll forget to take my medicine or something. But so I really need the routine. My brain needs it. But I need it too. And on mornings that we're rushed, maybe we're having to, leave early in the morning to go somewhere, and I don't get the typical morning routine I have, I hate it. Creating routines and sticking to them is important, including a bedtime, right? Adults don't have bedtimes. Kids have bedtimes. No, adults should have a bedtime. You should evaluate what time of evening do you like going to sleep? What time of night do you thrive the most? And create a routine around that. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to bed per se, but maybe you start shutting down the house. You take your night meds. You take care of your animals. You start slowing things down and quieting things down. And maybe part of your night routine is that you get in bed and read for an hour or whatever. That's up to you because you are, in fact, a grown up, But creating routines helps you to also get order in your life and know what's going to happen and know what's going to happen next. And that is actually something that most people do thrive on. Now, will you create a routine and then find yourself rebelling against it? Maybe so. You were probably that kid that your parents couldn't make go to bed or something. But that's okay too. You can always change the routine, but consider that, what your routine looks like if you have one or don't. And what else would you like to add to your routine? Do you want to add a little meditation to it? Would you like to add a little exercise to it? Would you like to add a little extra time to it? You decide and you make it happen. And then gratitude. Gratitude and appreciation are an amazing tool for self-care, for feeling good, for attracting good things to you. Really pay attention to that. I think it's interesting when, like, for example, I always pay attention to other people, like when you're in line at the store and things like that. And you watch people who are very gracious, who thank people, they thank the gas station attendant and tell them, hope you have a great day. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Versus the person who talks on their phone the whole time. They're completely dismissive. They grab their stuff and leave, and they never say 2 words to that person. The energy is so uncomfortable and totally different versus just a little bit of appreciation for someone doing something for you. Somehow we've fallen into this idea that if someone's being paid to do something, that there's no onus on us to be kind or to be appreciative, right? Why should I say thank you? They're getting paid to do that. You should say thank you because that's good manners, right? Because that's how grown-ups should behave, because that's how we should treat each other. But again, we've kind of fallen out of that. And so thinking about gratitude is a really helpful way to help yourself to have a better day in general. All right, so those are some self-care and self-love thoughts for you. And again, don't let the idea of self-care kick your ass to the point that then you just feel bad about yourself for not doing it. Not the point of it at all, right? That completely defeats the purpose, and it's okay if you're not feeling it. Totally okay. All right, moving on to bitch scopes. So this is, of course, from Kelly McLean. She brings us bitch scopes every week. She has a lot of good things to say about the moon, as well as a lot of these retrogrades that are starting up here in this next week or two. There's a lot happening, So read bitch scopes, read through she'll put it down for you day by day, what to expect as far as the, astrology is concerned. And then, of course, the scope for every sign, which is always amazing. So be sure to take a look. All righty. I provided in my tip of the week 5 essential oils to shift a bad mood. You ever just fall into a bad mood that you have a hard time breaking? Even you are sick of you. That's what happens to me. I go, oh God, I'm sick of me. I have to do something. But my kids are they're so touchy to it. I can even not really be in a bad mood, but maybe not just not be in a really up mood. And they'll be like, what's wrong? You're in a bad mood. What's the matter? Why are you in a bad mood? And I'm not even in a bad mood, but around here, I am kind of expected to be like up and on all the time. And sometimes you just don't feel it. I guess that goes back to that self-care piece, honestly. But for me, if I do find myself falling into a bad mood, I will smell, I will diffuse some oils that really help lift me. So, bergamot. Bergamot happens to be one of my all-time faves. Bergamot is a mood stabilizer, and it's one of my staples around here. Lavender, good for alleviating anxiety. Clary sage is great for balance. Rosemary is amazing for boosting your memory and just relieving stress. And jasmine boosts your self-esteem and makes you feel good. You could blend these oils together. You could use them singularly, but they're all really good ones for feeling better. And sometimes you just need to feel better, right? All righty. Well, there's so much more in Luminous that I'll let you guys check out on your own. And hopefully you find some pieces there that help you. I do want to talk to you a little about True Crime Paranormal. That is the podcast that I have with Christy. And we hit a huge milestone yesterday. We hit 100,000 downloads on the podcast. So that means people in the past 14 months have downloaded and listened to our podcast 100,000 times. And we're so excited about it. It's a huge milestone. It's a huge honor. It's a big step in the podcasting world because you can't start monetizing your podcast, which is how you get paid for doing it, until you've hit 100,000 downloads. And so it's a big deal to get there because we will at some point be able to start monetizing. Now, don't think monetizing means a lot. That could start meaning like $12 a month, You have to get a lot more than we've got so far to really get paid. And that's okay. That's, it's a labor of love and we love what we're doing. But it is nice to be able to start getting paid, in some way because it is a lot of work. So anyway, we're very excited about it. It's pretty cool stuff. So I just wanted to call your attention to our 2 new cases so far this week. Yesterday, we released Shining a Light on the Murder of Samantha Mizzi. Samantha Mizzi was a sex worker in Australia. And one thing we've discovered is that the police and the prosecutors, they're much more free to pick and choose the cases that they're passionate about than I ever realized until we started doing a lot of true crime. Drug addicts, former people that have had trouble with the law, and sex workers, they just don't. They don't care. And so often their cases get completely overlooked. But Samantha Mizzi, when she was murdered, she had 2 little children. And those children are now adults. And they're asking questions. And they want to know what happened to their mother. And they've basically kind of forced the Victoria Police Department to reopen her case and take a hard look. So what Victoria did is they actually took a hard look at all of their cold cases. And they released a whole series of videos on their Facebook page highlighting all of those cases in an attempt to jog the public's memory, get anyone to come forward that might know anything. And Samantha Mizzi is one of them. So it's actually really cool. It's really exciting. So I'm hoping it bears some fruit for them. And then this morning we released our first in a series of coverage on the Gurley Chu Hassenkoft murder. Gurley was a Malaysian American who was murdered by a guy. You guys might have heard of this guy. Dazen Hassenkoft. He came up with what he called a cure for cancer. He was selling people. He had all these people, particularly women, convinced that he was a geneticist. And he would draw people's blood and hold on to it. He was not a geneticist. He is not a geneticist. He's just a guy who does a lot of weird shit. But he defrauded people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars of cancer treatments that turned out to be B12 shots. Yeah. He did all kinds of things like that. He really glommed onto people that were in the New Age community and tried to take advantage of them, and did in a lot of ways. And anyway, he's quite the case study all in himself, but he has been convicted of her murder as well as his girlfriend. But it's a deep dive because it's a big case, and it's a really wild case. With all of his nonsense, it's a really big case. So anyway, we released that one this morning. So we just have a lot of good stuff going on over there. If you love true crime, come and play with us. If you don't, that's okay too. I know not everybody, especially empaths and super sensitives, like true crime because it's just a little too much. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So that's what we have going on over there this week. Alrighty, so that's it for Luminous, because the moon is full tomorrow, so we get to do Fairy Tale Tarot. Are you excited? I'm so excited. So every month near the full moon, we pull a card from the Fairy Tale Tarot deck, and we read it, and then we break it down and look at how it could be affecting us for the next 2 weeks. So this is a collective read for the whole cycle of the full moon. So I've already pulled the card. It is the Ace of Swords. So it is a picture of a girl. She's standing near some water. There's a sword here. There's a lot of brambles. There's rushes. There's a castle back in the distance. There is some seabirds, maybe some pelicans flying by. I probably missed some things. There's always more than I pick up on. But that's basically what the card looks like. Ace of Swords. So I'm going to read the story, and then I would love it if you guys want to chime in with me and give me some ideas of, how you interpret that for us as a collective. Again, it's a full moon reading, so here we go. The story is Cap O' Rushes. It is an English tale. The key words are beginnings, intensity, focus, and vision. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy gentleman who had 3 lovely daughters. He asked each daughter how much she loved him, confident that the answers would reflect their unquestionable devotion. Why even ask that question? I mean, it's gross. This is gross to me from the get-go, but I digress. The first daughter replied, "I love you as much as life." The second daughter told him, "I love you more than anything in the world." And the third daughter stated, "I love you as much as fresh meat needs salt." Weird, but okay. The father, who sat there smiling, expecting another display of adoration, was shocked by the youngest daughter's response. "You don't love me at all. You shall leave this home at once." The hell? All right. The banished daughter took 3 dresses and fled into a foggy fen. For days she slogged through a thick bog until her steps finally fell on drier earth. She climbed an embankment and hid her finery under dry roots. She then wove herself a hooded cloak with rushes and walked alongside a trickling brook until she came to a beautiful castle. She knocked on the door. A servant answered and agreed. to let her do menial tasks in exchange for shelter. Everyone called her Cap o' Rushes because of the makeshift cloak she wore. A dance was getting ready to take place, and the servants were allowed to attend as spectators. On the night of the affair, Cap o' Rushes told the others that she was too tired to go. But as soon as the others scurried off, she went back to the brook, washed herself, and dressed in one of the lovely dresses she had hidden in the roots. She ran to the dance, looking every bit a lovely princess. All eyes fell on Cap o' Rushes, although they had no idea who she was. The master's son refused to dance with anyone else. But as the festivities were winding down, Cap o' Rushes made a quiet exit and went back to the brook, replacing the lovely gown with her cloak. She feigned sleep in the kitchen corner when the others returned, but overheard the servants talking about the wonderful event. The next day there was another dance. Again, Cap o' Rushes bowed out, but as soon as everyone was out of sight, she dashed to the brook and dressed in her second gown. When she arrived, the master's son ran to her, for now he had fallen hopelessly in love. As one does, right? As one does after they've danced with someone for a whole evening. Let's see. Well, now I've lost my place. Okay. As the evening was winding down, she managed to slip out and return to her kitchen corner. Pretending to sleep, she overheard the lively chatter about the evening's events. For the third dance, once again, Cap o' Rushes excused herself. When everyone had gone, she went back to the brook and put on the most exquisite dress of all. It was made of the finest feathers and flowed like soft whispers in a gentle breeze. This time the master's son would not take his eyes off of her. He slid a ring on her finger and begged her to stay with him. Otherwise, he whispered, I will surely die of a broken heart. Surely. I mean, they've danced for 2 whole nights. Surely if she leaves, he will die of a broken heart. When the prince momentarily was distracted, Cap o' Rushes slipped away for the last time and was back in the kitchen before the others came. But the next day, the master's son had fallen ill. Now, how's that for a self-fulfilling prophecy? Cap o' Rushes declared that she could whip up a soup that would make the master's son well again. The cook was not too keen on letting a servant assume his duties, but he finally capitulated. Cap o' Rushes slipped her ring into the bowl of soup before it was served to the master's son. When the master's son discovered the ring at the bottom, he called for the cook and demanded to know who had really prepared the soup. Cap o' Rushes was summoned to the master's son's bedside. Did you make this soup? He asked feverishly. Sorry, all I can think about is men when they're sick in this conversation. Yes, I did, Cap o' Rushes humbly replied. Where did you get the ring, and who are you? Demanded the master's son in his sickly way. I made that part up. Cap o' Rushes removed her cap and exposed her long hair. When he recognized the servant as the woman he loved, color flowed into his cheeks and his eyes sparkled with life. It's a miracle! He's healed. Once he recovered, they planned a wedding and invited people from all over. Cap o' Rushes, who still did not disclose her true identity, invited her father. But before the wedding took place, she went to the kitchen and told the cooks not to put any salt on the meat. After the wedding, everyone sat down for the feast. When Cap o' Rushes' father took the first bite of meat, he burst out crying. What's the matter? Asked the master's son. Oh, I once had a daughter who told me that she loved me as much as meat needs salt. I'm a foolish man, for now I see She loved me dearly indeed. Capo Rushes ran to her father and hugged him. I'm here, father, she said tearfully. You didn't recognize her? I mean, she was only gone for a minute. The old man recognized the bride as his daughter, and at last embraced his long-lost child. After the celebration, the bride and her groom retired to their castle and lived many happy years together, and the meats that were served at mealtime were always salted to perfection. Symbols and meaning. Rushes are symbolic of growth and resiliency. Capo Rush's cape is made from rushes, symbolizing her inner growth as she proceeds on her journey. It's also a testament of her strong will and ability to adapt to her changing environment. Well, I'll give her that. The sword with the red hilt denotes strength and the forging of new ideas. Oh, forging, not foraging. Forging, like a sword. Okay. The pebbles and branches symbolize the passing of time. The bag carries ideas and hopes for a prosperous future. The seagulls signify freedom and continuation. The castle in the background holds the key to undiscovered treasure. The lake contains wisdom. It reflects the landscape and reveals the constant motion of the psyche. Would you gotten at that from this card? Any of you at all? Not me, man. Okay, though, I'll go with it. I didn't write this, so. The gray skies suggest the unknown and the changeability of the future. Capo Rushes holds 3 feathers, symbols of freedom. Her wild tresses acknowledge the adventurous situation she has found herself in. The presence of motifs such as the 3 dresses, the ring in the soup, suggests that this is a variant of Cinderella. These objects who appear in the story Why the Seas Moan. This card signifies the necessity to take charge and embrace the opportunity for new beginnings. Okay, that makes more sense to me, thinking about this in the scope of the full moon. You may have to scrutinize your situation and take stock of what you need to do to overcome unforeseen problems that may arise in the future. Okay, so what do you think? I mean, first of all, what do you think of this story? But second of all, how do you think it relates to us for this full moon season? I think that we are definitely going to find ourselves needing to be resilient. That comes up for me really strongly. And needing to be able to problem solve really well. I suspect that as we receive news, as we receive challenges, and they might not be intense challenges, they're probably not. But as things come up, we are going to have to be at our best when it comes to problem solving, when it comes to putting our heads together, when it comes to taking care of business. So that really resonates with me. I also feel like we may have to put ourselves out there in a way that we typically don't, right? Ask for help. Reach out a little bit. Hire someone. Step out of your comfort zone in ways that you typically don't. I could really see that the next couple of weeks. I could also see that happen in a more creative capacity. Maybe there's something you've been wanting to do for a long time that you don't have all of the skills to accomplish. For example, maybe you want to create an oracle deck and you know exactly what you want it to look like, but you don't have the artistic skills. Maybe this is the time that you decide to find an artist to hire to do those pieces for you. Or maybe you're the artist and you need somebody else to do the imaging work. Or, that's just one example, of course, but, or maybe you want to do some landscaping in your yard that you're not quite up to, that you need some help with, or whatever, a million different things, right? But this is a time for you to be a little vulnerable. It's a time for you to recognize what it's worth to you and reach out for help when you need it so that you can get what you want. Don't hobble yourself by refusing to pay for, acquire the assistance you need to accomplish the things you want to do. That comes up really strong for me. So that's what I see this full moon looking like. So if you guys have anything to add to that, I would love to see it. Yeah. Oh, right. I know, Lillian. I'm not well. I mean, I am for the most part. Don't think I'm not functioning. I really am. But I don't sound good. I know. I hate it. Speaking of which, this is Mars's last week of high school, right? And so every day is the last something. But the softball team, the seniors, organized a prank, a senior prank. Did you guys do senior pranks? I didn't, but I'll tell you about one. But they decided that they were going to fill the whole stairwell in the English hall with balloons. And they had permission from one of the English teachers and from one of the janitors. So they felt like they were okay to do it, which also makes me laugh. What kind of senior prank you get permission for? But these are not, these are kids who definitely want to graduate. Right? So anyway, we helped her yesterday. We blew up 125 balloons in the living room with an air compressor and bagged them up. And it took 12 black garbage bags, you guys, to fill up, to take all these balloons. And she still had 75 left that she was going to just take with her because she knew she wasn't going to be able to fit that many more in her car. You should have seen her car. It was filled from the trunk to the back seats to the floor to the front seat, clear to the ceiling. If we didn't live a mile from the high school, I would have never let her drive like that, but it was a pretty safe bet. Anyway, so about 10 kids got together. They all brought about that many balloons. They filled the stairwell with 1,000 balloons and streamers, and they used plastic wrap to like wrap it up into a big box so they could put all the balloons in it. They were at the high school till nearly midnight. She came home completely hoarse from blowing up so many balloons. And there was a janitor there, like a night janitor, who helped them and took pictures and was really cute about it. When they got to school this morning for first hour, it was completely gone. So when admin got to school this morning, they disassembled, got rid of 1,000 balloons, and completely took the whole thing down. They were so mad, and I think it's so funny because their prank, well, they got pranked. But one of the English teachers told the kids that the teachers loved it and the admin thought it was awesome, but they did not want anyone else to do a repeat or try to one-up that. And of course, they were a little worried about kids that with a latex allergy that could be affected by that, which was, one of the things that I had suggested as well. But anyhow, so I'm still laughing about it. Their prank got pranked, but they still did pull it off. But poor Mars can hardly talk today because she spent so much time talking, laughing, and blowing up hundreds of balloons yesterday. So funny. When I was in high school, a freshman, we had an assistant principal that a lot of kids hated. He was in charge of discipline. And there were boys in this school, like the senior boys, that had a lot of history with him. And he was an ass. He was, straight up. I could tell you lots of stories about him, but I won't today. But anyway, for a senior prank for a couple of those senior kids, I mean, remember, this is a farming community, right? And these boys broke into the school on Friday night. They let 2 adult sheep loose in the school. And then they spray painted on the sidewalk at the door of every opening to this school, Bob Boyce F's Sheeps. Well, first of all, that was back in the 90s when the F word was still very shocking. And in this little, Mormon community, having that spray painted all over the sidewalks was way bad. But also, the sheep were in the school for 2 days. And in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that really sucked for the sheep. How horrible for them. But as you can imagine, there was sheep shit everywhere and pee up and down the halls. And it was a disaster when they got to school Monday morning and discovered these sheep roaming the halls of the school. And of course, they had to gather them up and figure out what to do with them and then deal with all of the spray paint, which was way bad. Yeah. So they had a sandblaster out there, first thing in the morning, trying to sandblast all of that off of the sidewalk. What it ended up doing was they basically just sandblasted the words into the sidewalk, so you could still see exactly what it said. What it turned into was a hazing of that vice principal. And as an adult, now I feel kind of sorry for him, except for as a kid, I know exactly what he was about. So maybe not. But for years after that, whenever he'd walk down the halls, people would like, like baa him like a sheep, into their sleeve or whatever, so they wouldn't get caught as the prankster. But that one absolutely created a big stir. I can't quit laughing. It was bad. It was bad. I feel sorry for the sheep, but not so much for Bob Boyce because, well, he sucked. But that's the biggest senior prank I have ever seen. But that's what they did. What my dad and his friends did, they snuck out to the landfill where there were tires, like a huge stack of tires, and they filled their pickups with tires, and they went to the school, and they took turns climbing the flagpole in front of the school and dropping one tire down until they had completely covered the flagpole all the way to the top. It was like 20 feet or more tall with tires. So when they got to school Monday morning, that's what they found. And then the school had to figure out how to get all of these tires down from the flagpole. Yeah, I would have never thought of that. I also don't think I could have ever climbed a flagpole, even by myself, not carrying a tire with me. But that's what they did. Yeah. So apparently people do it. I don't know. I never did a senior prank. Didn't even think about it. Yeah, I kind of wish I had, but I don't know. Did you guys do senior pranks? Was that a thing at your school? I think at our school, it's mostly like, it was like do it and die, especially after the sheep incident, but yeah. All right, a couple of quick things. Laurie said she's been feeling her deceased cat Lola around her. She said she never found out what she died of, but her decline was pretty rapid. I had to put her to sleep 3 weeks ago because she was so out of touch with reality, walking in circles and meowing, just not herself. She had a brain tumor, honey. She did. She had a brain tumor. I think it came on really fast and started really pushing in various places, and just really, it took her down quick. And of course, you had to put her down. It was the kindest thing you could do for her. I feel like she was so disoriented and so unable to function. But she is around you a lot. There's a strong soul connection with her. So I feel like you absolutely did the right thing. You weren't going to win that, you weren't. And so, helping her go to heaven is the best thing you could have done for her. Okay. Pamela says she's going to hire someone to get stuff done in the yard, gardening, windows. Good for you, Pamela. I'm doing a little of that myself. I have discovered the last few years hiring people to do things that I am not up to doing, and how actually awesome that is, Oh, Sid said her class put bubble bath in the pool, and it was a huge pool. Okay, I can feel that. I like that. Okay, let's see. All right, Sid, I can try and get Patchouli over that. Let me talk to her about it. Her dog Patchouli is scared around water and doesn't want to walk on the boardwalk. Actually, I think there's something to that. She sees the glittery reflection and puts her brakes on. I think this is about her eyesight, actually, Sid. I don't feel like she's had a bad situation with water. I feel like it's the way she's seeing it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show her water and the movement of it and the reflection of it. I'm just going to remind her that anytime that you are standing next to her, she is safe no matter what. And if you're guiding her to come to anywhere, that it's okay to go. Yeah. This has to do with her depth perception, actually. Poor sister. All right. And she does trust you and feel safe with you, Sid. It's not that she doesn't. So I'm hoping that can really help her to just see it for what it is and be okay. All right, really quick, this is a group request. I'm going to ask you all to join me in adding prayers for Carol's niece and baby. The niece had to have a kidney removed and is coming home today, but the baby had a fall and had to have surgery. So it sounds like both are doing better, but have had some pretty good trauma. So yes, Carol, we will all add them both to our prayers, our meditations, our manifestations, without a doubt. Okay. All righty, you guys, we have done what we do. We've talked down to the end of the show. I appreciate you all so much being here. Don't forget, I am a professional psychic advisor over at when2listen.com. I am there every day. Come over and give me a call if there's anything I can do to help you out. I'll be back on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific for Read Me with Katie and Kelly, and we're doing bibliomancy this week. And I think I'm going to read from the Goddess 365 book. So I'm way excited about it, actually. Scott joked that we were going to do bibliomancy with the Book of Mormon, but we're not. We're not. Or any other scripture, just to be fair. He wanted me to read from 50 Shades of Grey. To be fair, I don't even own that book, so I can't, but it's whatever. All righty, you guys. Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Sheila and Lillian. I will feel better, I promise. I'm taking every step of good self-care, including going to take a little rest right now. So this has been Katie Weaver here on the Katie Weaver Show on 1-2